Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucia and this is Lulu's Leaves.
I'm no good at being good, but I never said I was. And I feel misunderstood cause I'm trying hard to love.
In today's video, I am going to be talking to you guys about some plants that I do not suggest buying. It's not to say that you can't get these plants, but they may cause you a little bit of trouble, which is why I want to talk to you guys about them in today's video. If you hear some crazy noises, Lumi is currently on a running spree, so you may hear some running around in the back of today's video. I am sorry about that, but you know, there's not much I can do about it. So the plants that I am going to be talking about are plants that are typically prone to getting pests. I have definitely had a lot of experience with these specific plants, and I've also talked to some people who might have experience so that I can get a Lumi. Okay, I got her here. No. And I've also talked to some other plant parents just so that I can make a more comprehensive list for you guys. So yeah, there's not a ton of plants. There's not a ton of plants a part of today's video, but I'm definitely going to go through some of the plants that I've had the most trouble with. So yeah, if that sounds like something that you are interested in, definitely continue watching this video all the way through to the end. Also, if you could give it a thumbs up, that would help me out so much. If you're not already subscribed to my channel as well, definitely click that button down below so that you don't miss out on any future videos. I also do have YouTube memberships if you are interested in that. We have an awesome community over on Discord. If you join at any level, you gain access to the Discord group chat. But then if you want to gain access to some extra content, the top 2 tiers give you that. So yeah, definitely click that join button down below or the link in the description if you don't see the join button, and that will get you straight to where you need to be. But yeah, that's going to be all before I get into today's video. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Well guys, the first plant I want to talk to you about is the Monstera deliciosa. This is an amazing plant and it's in so many different people's collections. But one thing a lot of people don't know before they get this plant is that it is actually prone to thrips. Thrips are definitely the most annoying of the pests in my experience, just because they do have weird life cycles and they last a long time, they breed really quickly. It's just a combination of a lot of different things that make them so annoying. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly why this plant is so prone to thrips, but if anyone here has had thrips, I bet you have had them on your Monstera deliciosa. It is really unfortunate because it is such a beautiful plant. And I would say that it's probably not going to stop me from getting one. I actually don't have a regular Monstera deliciosa at the moment, but I have been thinking about getting one to fill one of my corners. This plant behind me is getting absolutely destroyed by Lumi, the Dracaena. She leaves most of my other plants alone, but this one is just a disaster. So yeah, I do plan on replacing it and another plant that I have with a Monstera deliciosa, or at least one of them. But you do want to keep in mind that thrips are a possibility. Thrips are a possibility with any plant, but especially with the Monstera deliciosa, they seem to find their way there. I think it has something to do with the sweetness of the plant. It is a juicier plant, so when they do, bite into the leaf, they're getting a little bit more sweetness, but I actually don't know the whole science behind it. So when you are picking out a Monstera deliciosa, I wouldn't say avoid it altogether, but I would definitely recommend that you take a really good look at the plant and make sure that you're not seeing any thrip damage. If you've never seen thrip damage before, I definitely recommend taking a look. This here is an example of what thrip damage looks like on a Monstera deliciosa. So hopefully that helps you, decipher whether the plant that you're looking at has thrips or not. Another plant that is definitely prone to pests is the Hoya genus, but more specifically I want to talk about the Hoya bella. Hoyas definitely tend to be more pest-prone plants in general, but the Hoya bella is a little bit different. Usually Hoyas have trouble with mealy bugs because they are also a juicy plant, but the Hoya bella is a thin-leaved Hoya that actually attracts spider mites. And I'm not sure why, but I have had so much trouble with spider mites on my Hoya bellas. I think each and every one of them has had the same issue. And because the plants have such thin leaves, they usually decline really quickly. So that is an unfortunate part about having the Hoya bella. It is a very beautiful plant though, and I do think that it's worth it still. But what I would suggest is definitely taking some spray, whether that's Safer's End-All, Safer's insecticidal soap. I personally think that once a month is enough to prevent spider mites, but if you do see some odd speckly looking damage, I would definitely check it over for spider mites. Unfortunately, these plants are also prone to thrips, especially when they do get a little bit bigger, I find. I don't know why this specific Hoya is so attractive to all of these different types of pests, because of course they still can get mealy bugs like many Hoyas do. They also could get aphids. You know, it's just a really attractive plant for pests. So keep that in mind. I do actually like to keep plants that are prone to pests in different areas of my house, so that I keep them away from some of my less pest-prone plants so that I can avoid outbreaks in the future. It's a good way to just stay on top of it because you do know that they are prone to it, so why not, you know, just keep them in a safer spot. I wouldn't say any type of Hoya bella is immune to this. I've had the Hoya bella green form, I've had the Hoya bella albomarginata, and the Louis Bois. I actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've had spider mites on the green one, but both of the variegated ones did get spider mites. That may just be a coincidence, but you know, I'm just letting you know because that is my specific experience. Next up, I want to talk about Calatheas. Calatheas are the bane of many people's existences. It can be a really beautiful plant, but for the most part, these plants are spider mite magnets. And I don't think that there's any other plant out there that we typically will keep in our houses that are as prone to spider mites as Calatheas. The reason that these plants attract spider mites so easily is because spider mites are attracted to plants that are being underwatered or slightly neglected. And Calatheas, because they're such thirsty plants, they need to be watered so often that they're always a little bit sad in my experience. I had a lot of Calatheas at one point, and over that time, I've had spider mites on every single one of them. I actually don't have any Calatheas anymore because I am tired of dealing with spider mites, but if you do love the look of them, just make sure that you're wiping off the leaves at least once every 2 weeks to prevent that. I couldn't stay on top of that, but if you are willing to and it's worth it for you, go for it. The Calathea that I found was the most prone to spider mites was my Calathea rosiopictus. I don't know if that was just a coincidence, but those medallion-shaped Calatheas seem to be really unhappy all the time due to the colony of spider mites living on them. There is one Calathea that I have found is less prone to spider mites, and that is the Calathea Orbifolia. That actually does seem to be a really easygoing Calathea compared to most. You do still need to water it with distilled water, so keep that in mind. But if you're trying to avoid spider mites and you do want a Calathea in your home, the Calathea Orbifolia is probably the best bet. The rattlesnake Calathea is also a pretty good option. I've never seen spider mites on one of those. Personally, I know, it's happened, but I have had better luck with those two. Next up, I want to talk about the Hoya Carnosa Compacta. You guys probably know where I'm going with this one, but this plant is a mealy bug magnet. I could not tell you why. I really can't. But the Hoya Compacta has so many little crevices for those mealy bugs to multiply before you even notice them. That is why it's such a tricky plant to take care of. I have dealt with mealy bugs on both of my Hoya Carnosa Compactas, both the green one and the albomarginata. I also had a really tough time with the monoloa. I guess it's really just not the plant for me. That's not to say it's not the plant for you, and if you're willing to stay on top of treating it preventatively, I definitely think this can be a really easy plant to care for. It does still have those easy Hoya care requirements, not needing water too often and not needing humidity, but the Hoya Carnosa Compacta is definitely one that you will likely find a mealybug on if you happen upon a mealybug infestation. I still love the look of this plant. I think it's really unique and it does attract a lot of new plant parents. So just keep that in mind if you are a new plant parent. That is something that you need to keep a lookout for. String of hearts is also a really pest-prone plant. In my experience, mealybugs and spider mites love to hang out in these plants. Similar to the Hoya bella, they have really thin leaves. They're actually a Hoya relative. They're a part of the Ceropegia genus. And for some reason, spider mites and mealybugs love to find their way into the backs of the hearts or wherever they may be. They find hiding places pretty easily on this plant. So make sure that if you see that your plant is slightly declining, you check it over for pests, because if you are having trouble with your string of hearts and you feel like you're doing everything right, pests might be the issue. A lot of people overlook pests because they feel like they're doing everything right, but you know, sometimes it happens. Even if you are the most perfect plant parent in the world, you are going to come across pests. They come in from just about everywhere, and there's really no way to avoid it. Unless you're treating your plants preventatively, you will likely have some sort of infestation along your plant journey, and that is okay. Just be sure when you are taking care of your string of hearts, whether that's the variegated or the regular one, that you are checking it over, just, you know, flipping the leaves over every once in a while and making sure that you are pest free. Last but not least on this list, I do want to touch on cacti in general. Cacti are also a huge magnet for mealybugs because they are juicier, as you can probably tell. They do hold water in their shape, whatever you want to call it. Because of that, mealybugs are definitely drawn to them. A lot of cacti also have really deep crevices, especially if they're more funky looking cacti, and it's a really big pain in the butt too, because a lot of them are super spiky and not easily treated. So make sure that you're constantly looking at the crevices in the top of your cacti, because mealybugs really like to hang out there. That is likely the first place you are going to see them. And then if they do start spreading, you might see them in the spines of the cacti or even just along the sides of the cactus. But usually you will be able to spot them pretty easily because most cacti are, you know, either green or a blue color, and mealybugs are white. The biggest issue you're gonna have is with the old man cacti or the fuzzy looking cactus, because mealybugs often present themselves with fuzz. So that's gonna be a really tricky plant to keep pest free, especially free of mealybugs, but you can do it. Just keep an eye on them. You will likely be able to tell if your plant is infested with mealybugs. Well guys, that was a bit of a shorter video, I think, but I hope you guys did enjoy it. I definitely wanted to give you guys a little heads up because I have had a lot of experience with a lot of these plants, and I do feel like this is not talked about enough. A lot of these plants like Calathea, you know, we hear about them being spider mite magnets all the time, but we don't hear as much about these other plants before we get them, and then we're just a little bit blindsided. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you guys did find this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe down below if you are not already so that you don't miss out on any future content. I also have YouTube memberships if you are interested in joining a community over on Discord. That is really, really fun. The link is down in the description below if you're interested in that. But yeah, that's going to be all from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.